Great to be here with all of you. Welcome in Saaremaa and welcome at the Clean Energy for EU Island Forum. We're so happy that you all made it. Some with some delays and bumps and overnights that were not expected, but everyone's here. So that's already a great achievement. And we're going to have a great couple of few days. Thanks also to the commune of Saaremaa and the mayor, Mikk Tuisk, who's going to speak to you after me, for hosting us in his this great island and great town. I only heard positive things so far when people were walking around, how beautiful, how peaceful, how charming it is. So, and we had a great introduction yesterday about the island life from around the corner. And so I think we all feel connected and fond of this island already. I also want to thank European Commission, obviously, who's sponsoring and steering this Clean Energy for EU Island Secretariat. So we have Eero Ailio here, who will speak to you in a minute as well, as head of unit. And we have Edita Transeikate, who's our program officer or project officer in the European Commission. So we're very happy that you're here. So we're looking to a full 2 days. With lots of experiences, lots of debate, lots of discussions amongst us. And this reminds me of last year. I was here in September, the end of September, first on the island of Hiiumaa, which is just north of here, and then on the island of Saaremaa, with Mayor Hergo of Hiiumaa, and then here with the local team and Mayor Mikk in Saaremaa, and it was really interesting because you felt that, you know, when coming together, sitting around the table, discussing about the vision of where the island wants to go, where we want to go with the clean energy, that some magic happens. And the magic happens when we start discussing this, when we start laying out the vision and making plans. And we felt in the months after that some of that dynamic was continued, and that in all the actions that were taken, we had some kind of moment where things came together and then accelerated for the better. And last year we were in Rhodos and we did a site visit to Halki. And Halki, I will explain tomorrow in a presentation. We have studied almost all clean energy on the island. We know perfectly well now where put windmills, where put solar panels, how do the battery thing, do the offshore, and so forth. So we kind of completely mapped the island, and we know the opportunities. And now it's about, you know, getting started and finding solutions for this clean energy development. And that's where, you know, the kind of technical assistance that we have been doing is contributing to the local dynamic. And we had there as well a very dynamic mayor who wants to become a major energy exporter in Greece. and so he's really behind a lot of these actions on the island of Halki. And a last moment where I thought of the last year, where kind of the magic happens, and it was really sweet. We were in Mayotte, which is the sunniest department of France. It's north of Madagascar, and it's also the most fastly growing in population, and unfortunately also the poorest part of France. And we were there in the control room with Électricité de Mayotte. And they had, on the back of the MyShop project, which is a European project that I think Claire will talk about, they had installed a battery there. And the locally trained guy in the control room, he was starting to learn to work that battery, you know, to deal with the intermittency of the renewable energy. And it was a first. And you saw that it was, you know, it starts with one battery. And it starts with one guy, locally trained, you know, to learn to do these things. And I think that was a very powerful moment for me, because that shows that this clean energy on the EU islands is sort of a locally owned thing. Even obviously the European support is there and so forth. It's locally owned, it's locally trained, and it's you know, governed by the local instances. And I think that's, as a Clean Energy for EU Island Secretariat who likes to support the bottom-up initiatives and connect it to the European dynamics, that's very important to see. And so those moments of the last years were very powerful. And I think today and tomorrow, we're here together to discuss and have a exchange, island to island, expert to expert, amongst each other, to really map out the next years, because we were very happy to be awarded or selected to run this secretariat for the next 4 years, and we responded to the challenges and the requirements asked by the European Commission on the technical assistance, on the study, and so forth. And the program that we put together here is basically making this work not a work of the Secretariat, but of you all. It's your forum. We're just here to support, to organize a nice room, good food, get-togethers, time to talk and discuss, but it's your discussion. And I think that's very important, because I know these seats are very comfy, and some people who are lacking a bit of sleep of the of the travel might be seduced in getting a nap here, but it's going to be a very active session because all of you will be able and are invited to contribute in the discussion. There's no hierarchy here, there's no talking to you, it's talking amongst each other, with each other, and that's the dynamic we want to have here. So with the Secretariat, and the whole Secretariat is present here, and well, there will be a moment where we can introduce everyone, and I think it will also happen informally. But so in the new consortium, we are with Think E, we are with Steinbeis, we are with Samsung Energy Academy, with Daphne, with Econolair, with RDA, with Blue Energy, DNV, and with 9 regional partners who are supporting us from all over Europe. And it's a great adventure that we're starting, and we are there, all of us here as well, to discuss with you, to plan, to make plans for the future, to have an exchange on what the next years can bring. So I think again, very warm welcome from me. Very happy that we're all here, and now I give the floor to the mayor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jan. What do I have to say after you? But I'm just here to say hello and welcome to Saaremaa. I know most of you are here, but not most of you. Plenty of you are here, but most of us people are looking at online, I guess. They have a chance to come here because everybody who are here will witness how beautiful our island is and enjoy this, and hopefully you come back and have some time here of this kind of things when you have time to enjoy this actually. But what about Saaremaa is that officially we are the sunniest place in Estonia, and we are the windiest place in Estonia. On that ground we have everything to be the green. And we also have one very big sector is agriculture. That means we also have potential for bioenergy. But what Jan already told, the main issue for us at the electricity level is the grid. We have sun, we have wind, but the grid is the bottleneck. We cannot produce this kind of energy that is needed for the mainland. On the sunny day and the windiest days, we are basically we produce more electricity than we use in Saaremaa at some days. In that level we are good, but on the higher level it is the real issue for us. And if you have any ideas how to solve this thing, we are really welcome to have these kinds of discussions. But as actually we know what the main issue is. As always, the main issue is money. We at the higher level, we are really pro, okay, amongst us. If we talk about offshore wind parks, we know they can be real benefit for Saaremaa in economical way, because we know there are lots of jobs involved in that, and we also could get a good grid in here. the grid is something that everybody is really, they are affected by that. We have this kind of electricity problems. And what can I say? Welcome to Saaremaa. As I understand, as I told, we are the very really green place. We are part of UNESCO Man and Biosphere area. That means that everything we do, we want it to be sustainable, and we want to keep our culture and our nature for our children as well. This why we are really looking the alternatives to these things which are going on in the world at the moment. We know that the climate is changing, and we want to be part of that the climate would not change so much. But what can I say? You have a busy day ahead of us, and I will be here almost both days. I have to go away a little bit early today and tomorrow as well, maybe. But if you have any questions, and I am here, and you can ask about Saaremaa, I can give you suggestions where to go. One place is, of course, before was this Sõrve Peninsula. Go there, you will see it is the sunniest place and it is the windiest place. And both two things I enjoy the most in the nature. So welcome to Saaremaa, and you are always welcome back to Saaremaa. Thank you.
All right. Yes, it works. It works. Very good. Good morning. And it's by the way, I think we got a very, very warm welcome to Saaremaa. I think Mayor Tuisk has arranged everything here, including the weather. And this is not something I took for granted. I mean, I'm traveling like this here, and this is a big risk. I would never do this to go to my home, which is just a little bit to the north in Helsinki. Particularly since I spoke with friends who were saying that last week that it was snowing in parts of the country still. So that's the summer can generally summer for us Finns at least means that it's the moment when there is little snow around, and that's the way it goes. But today we are really well received here. So thank you indeed. Thank you, Mayor Tuisk. Thank you, Jan. Thank you, the team, for organizing this event. So it starts very promisingly as it has done in the past. Now, the initiative that we have here, Clean Energy for EU Islands, it's starting its first class in school. It's 6 years old, so it's a toddler. But I think there's a lot to grow from here. And so far we've grown to, I think, 76 islands, if my statistics are correct. That's already pretty good. I mean, we didn't know this when we were kicking this off a few years ago. And you all know what the initiative is about. I mean, it's about, of course, accelerating the green transition on your islands, developing the economies into, future-proof jobs and all of that. But I guess none of us, or not, at least not many of us, would have expected that today it's actually what we're doing. We are deploying renewable energies on these islands also in order to achieve energy security. And this is one of the, I would say, a sad thing, of course, because that was driven by Putin's brutal attack against Ukraine. But it started like an acceleration of this transition at the EU level. And you may have heard about the Repower EU package, which is basically the different types of emergency measures that the Commission has been working on pretty much like night and day last year to try to wean us off from Russian fossil fuels. And as a main tool of this, actually, to accelerate even further the transition. And that's like a new thing that we are experiencing. And we were talking about things like strategic autonomy and things like that, which is really, well, it's a novelty. But I think the positive of this is that the tools we are using there are the same as with the Green Deal in general. So it's really to get us into renewable energy future and of course energy efficiency and all these things which go together. So we are on track, and what you're doing is actually even doubly more important than it was back 6 years ago when we didn't have this reality. So now, if I look at a bit the helicopter view, so what the EU's been doing, yes, we've been upgrading legislation. That was already on the drawing board. Well, actually, we were in the middle of negotiations with the EU member states, with your ministries and the European Parliament on a number of things like renewable energy, energy efficiency, the performance of buildings, and also electricity market rules. So we then took these papers in the middle of the game, so to say, and said, look, now we have a situation, we have to accelerate. So we introduced different types of new provisions, like shortening of permitting rules, new energy storage requirements, and new consumer rights as well. Financial tools like the PPAs. I forget now. So what purchase agreement P? What was the first P for? Paper. Yes, thank you very much. There you go. Still, the brain is not working. But anyway, also taking these very useful instruments, actually bringing them, giving access to them to small consumers, small communities, even consumers, individual ones, because so far they've been pretty much something for larger companies and so on. But now we need everything. So we took also those. It's of course about renovations. There are also safeguards for energy prices not going through the roof like they did last summer. And these are the kind of things which are happening now. We are like about to close many of these pieces of legislation so that we have a new sort of a level of ambition also in the rule books. Okay. Then Jan already broke out the good news about the continuation of the secretariat. This is super important because it's not the done deal. We have to fight for these things. Nowadays, money is in short supply actually. So Edita did a great job, and this we are secure now for a number of years ahead of us. And I think in the process of this initiative, what we've learned as well is that we've heard the feedback from you islands and collected that together. So we found out that actually islands are requesting for guidance on quite a few things. And I've listed here legal, technical, economic, financial, and also the social kind of guidance. And of course, this is, in varying combinations because, some are more advanced on some of these areas and others in other and so on. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to ramp up the technical assistance. So we have a network of about 100 experts, if my numbers are correct. And there's the focus going to be there not just on the power sector, but also on things like, transports, heating and cooling, super important. And even some, specific industries on islands. That's the plan. And then the one sort of visible thing is that we're going to set one new goal here. And I promise just one because, let's keep things simple. We should never move the goalposts while we're moving. But anyway, we will set us the aim to support 30 islands to go climate neutral by 2030. So 30 islands climate neutral by 2030. That's the big challenge that we are putting on the table here. And we hope that many of you will take this up. And then probably there are also going to be islands which are not yet in our community here that we hope to go for this. So this island initiative is going to be kicked off tomorrow, indeed, by our commissioner, Kadri Simpson, officially. But I'm already sort of, mentioning this, and I think it was actually written somewhere in the program, so it's not really a secret. Yeah, it's quite kind of visible. But what I want to say is that you're going to be in those of you who will join this are going to be in good company. There are on the mainland there are 100 cities who have taken the challenge to become climate neutral by 2030, and we're going to make sure that we take any learnings, information, materials, whatever that's done on the city side, we will bring it here as well, because that's the thing that makes sense, of course. All right, so I think, if I want to give some kind of message to you here, so it would be like, be brave, be bold, don't hesitate, to join this challenge. It needs innovation, and I think that's something that we have great amounts of on islands, because the setting is different than from the mainland, so you have to think differently, and that's a good thing. And you have that big advantage actually compared to the cities on the mainland, that often the communities are smaller. So I know it's sometimes a drawback, but it's also actually an advantage. Certain things are probably simpler in this game than it is for particularly large cities. There we go. Now, a couple of words about barriers in this transition. We hear from you, again, I'm quoting you, that there are various things which are keeping the progress a bit slower than it should be. I mean, sometimes they're related to rules, because there needs to be some kind of like a rule framework, which will then drive also investment and the support that the governments give. So that's one area, and this is for this reason. So we are following recommendations that have been collected from a study last year on the regulatory barriers. So we're going through that to get to new results. And there's one technical point here. So we're going to also launch this kind of a study on good practices on connecting renewable energy sources on islands which are of a non-synchronized kind, and also including non-connected islands. So not just the kind of easy ones where you have connections to the mainland, but also the ones which do not have. And they're obviously, for that to work, so we have to have all the, we need the regulators on board, well, obviously the government, but then all the others as well. So otherwise it's not going to work. And then the other thing, which is quite important, is grid. And I think Mayor Tuisk mentioned that yesterday. We were discussing this, how much it would cost to add capacity, production capacity, solar PV. I mean, I was surprised by the number. We were talking about, what, 8 million something? Sorry? 7 million, which, yeah. So that's a bit of a high price for 70 kilowatts solar panels, So clearly we have something there to do. So that's why we're going to be working on that aspect as well. Now, the point that is obvious here, that these things do not work if you don't get everyone on board, and that means, I mentioned government, but of course all the different other stakeholders which either live on the islands or have control on these kinds of works, and that means grid operators, that means project developers, and there are some here in the room, and I've had actually super interesting discussions. I'm learning here, and so we need all of those, and of course the island communities are the one who are driving this, because without them nothing is going to work. And what we at the Commission are doing, we try to give a helping hand in any way we can. And one of them is to sort of talk to the central governments, to sort of induce and persuade them to accelerate the work that you're doing. So that's one thing. Now, last point, there's also the secretariat has a couple of other plans in store, as I understand. So there's going to be a platform developed or enhanced, actually, where all these good practices are going to be shared, examples on the projects, which are many, and that's not just for sort of like showcasing these kinds of practices. That's of course one thing, but we want to sort of connect them so that we can get these learnings from one place to another, and so that you don't have to reinvent wheels around Europe. And that's a kind of like a knowledge base which will be built on this. And then obviously last but not least, I mean, these forums, these are going to continue. So I think we all know why, because it makes sense. And it's great to come now. Now we're in Saaremaa. We were last time in Rhodos, indeed. And, I wouldn't want to miss out these things. And it's not just for the fun and, great places to see and where you otherwise don't automatically go. But there's really actually a professional benefit. So that's the point. So we will certainly continue. There's going to be a new edition of that. I don't know where, but we will find that out. So here we go. I want to thank you for your dedication already at this stage, and I'm sure we will have a great conference here. And then, of course, the important point, remember to taste those delicacies that Margit was yesterday advertising. The rowan berries, you know, nobody's going to leave the island before having at least bought one of those unless tasted. Huh? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. I have a mic here. So yes, indeed, there's going to be next forums, and there might be candidates in the room. Last year, when we were in Rhodos, Sulev, who's here somewhere, yeah, there, he came to us and say, the next forum should be in Saaremaa. And we're like, yeah, why? So he convinced us. We came to Saaremaa, and we're very happy to be here. So if you have an idea, please come to us. You might be next.